Hello, everyone. This is super weird for me because I have to. I don't see you, so I don't know what the response is going to be. And I haven't done this like this before. At least I would have like. But my name is Katro, also known as Vasjem. I am from Tirana, Albania, and yeah, I grew up actually in Korcha, which is southeast of Albania, and it's a small city, and Albania is a small country. Hopefully, you know where it is located. But today, I'm going to share with you a little bit of the life story, how I started my career. I'll go a little bit through everything that I learned, and it's sort of the path of me being a creator, and the path of me being someone who is really passionate about my job. But before I get to design work or anything related to that, I'll share with you a little bit of my life story. So here is me, like, I don't know, 30 years ago. I look blonde, very different from what I look right now, what you see here. My girlfriend says that I'm probably adopted. I think you will see during this talk that I'm not adopted. Because my parents made sure to document everything of me growing up, but also they made sure that I look pretty cool on these clothes and I look like very high piece, very fashionable. But here you can see also a little bit of me being a small kid and also like enjoying to draw. Drawing was always like my passion. You can see here that this is me, and the funny thing is like this is all new footage for me because I had to see my parents. They sent me this footage and I tried to embed it into my presentation. But as you can see here, I've been always liking drawing and always been a creative kid, always wanted to make cool things. And these are like, I like to draw cars and like to draw, I don't know, all sort of ugly clowns like this one and houses with weird chair. And you can see also that I was always passionate about colors and dresses and apparently features. And then I had my phase of doing Dragon Ball. Everybody probably had that phase of like drawing. And here's my first brand collaboration with Adidas. Uh, I think so. At least I tried. But always been very, very passionate about photography as well. Here you can see some photos of mine trying to be like a photographer. And also at one point in growing up, my parents got me the first computer that looks like this, and I was very passionate, like very passionate about it, and like I wanted to do cool stuff with it. But after they got me the computer, Albania also went through a weird phase, and apparently they got me Kalashnikov as well. But very responsible of them. I think after that, went back to the computer. Things sorted out and everything went well. And you can see here I'm using Cool Edit Pro, which is like an old software. Hopefully, some of you might know. Then became Adobe Audition. But I was recording sounds from MTV for 6 to 8 hours a day, and then chopping it up to make songs and share this in CDs with friends and family. And this was my DJ phase starting up and using software and learning what I can do with a computer outside of just playing video games. And here is also my phase of being kind of a douchey. A teenager started, and then I took my DJing a little bit further, and I started playing in radios. I hope the sound is playing there. I can't hear anything. Like, what do you like? What's the thing that you do, and what you are you in your career? I mean, some designers call me an artist. Artists call me a designer. Honestly, I just like to make stuff. I graduated and studied for computing science and multimedia. And in 2011, I started working on a digital agency back home. And after a little bit of working on the agency, I got super bored, and I decided I wanted to do something on my own, like a cool project that I can focus on. And I decided to start this project, which was kind of very stupid at the time because I decided to challenge myself to create a poster every day for 60 days. And these are some of those ugly posters that I was making back at the time. But the goal was like, how can I make something that is just for me? How can I make something that looks cool? That I want, that I have to do, which is like, I don't have a brief, I don't have nothing, and it's just me. And I started doing this, and I was sharing into my personal website, and nobody cared about it. Like, I was just doing for, friends and family who knew where to go and find this artwork. And I went to the day 40 and never finished the 60 days. And that always kind of stuck in my mind as a thing that I could have kind of challenged myself and keep going forward. But um, the thing is, how can I wanted to continue doing posters, and all these posters have been very associated with electronic music. I love the electronic music. I come from that background, and I always wanted to make cool stuff and cool posters with, with design that is related to electronic music. And there also, I've been to a phase that I started doing a lot of photography when Instagram started, and these are some of the photos that I used to take, and I was sharing them on my personal account, and always wanted to do. Was like in 2016. I always wanted to share some of my graphic design work that I was doing at the time, but like I didn't want to share it on my own personal profile, and I didn't have like a place where I can share it on Instagram. So I decided, like, you know what, I'll just go back to this 2011 project that I started with a lot of, challenging myself to create a poster every day for 60 days. But this time, I'll just challenge myself to create a poster every day for 1 year. And this was a bigger challenge. And since then, have been like 977 posters in total. And this was also like the moment that I started becoming like a very independent artist, like someone who just likes to do whatever I wanted to do, and without having a brief. So if you haven't seen some of my work, I'll just quickly swipe through all of these, and you can see the diverse sort of work that I'm still doing, and sort of the some artworks that I've been doing during this time. Um, Here are some other ones, and I always like to play with typography and colors and so on. But the thing is, you can go and check out all of that work through Bauhausm everywhere on the internet. But what I'm going to talk to you, and what I'm going to share today is what I've learned through my career in the last, I don't know, like 15 years of working, and what are the things that while doing the Bauhausm project, and as well as like doing a lot of client work and all the things that make you as an artist, especially as an independent artist. So that's what I'm going to share. And here are the things that what I've learned. And I've always been like curious as a kid, and always wanted to learn, and but also like sort of being a bad student, and I didn't care what I could. I didn't want to do things that I didn't like. I always wanted to do things that I was really passionate about. So if there was a class about something that I don't like, I wouldn't study on it. And I was like very stubborn about that. So the first thing that I will share with you, and I think this is like for everybody, hopefully, is like sometimes you have to push software to its limits. And what I mean by that is I had to do work daily, and I'm still doing daily artwork. Sometimes you are limited by the tools, and you think that this tool is supposed to be for that or that, but like as you can see here, I have also back here, I have a pegboard which has slightly changed from that photo, but it's back here in the studio where every tool basically serves something. It has like a purpose in a way or another. And that very translates super real like closely to the Photoshop, let's say, toolbar. So when I was doing the posters daily, I wanted like, to play a little bit with the gradients. I wanted to play with other things. And I was like, how can I use Photoshop to expand my skills and create something um, further? So what I ended up using was like the liquify effect in Photoshop, which is basically used for mostly for photography and photo manipulation. And I was like, you know what, I can use this tool to manipulate colors and gradients and so on. And I ended up getting with this kind of aesthetic where I was mixing a lot of these colors together. I was getting like these weird effects that for me were all new and like visually appealing. But the cool thing is that I shared the technique, and looking back, is like 25K plus Baugasm hashtags of people that are inspired from this on Instagram, where they have used the technique and sort of applied it. And for me, it's like super cool to see that a lot of people are like inspired from that, and is just of a technique using it in Photoshop and using the liquify effect. Um, the other thing that I learned is that because I had to do things daily and be creative almost daily, I wanted to learn 3D. Like I 3D is hard, but if you put enough effort, it's also easy. And it sometimes it feels like like things are obvious, but you cannot see them, and then you ended up doing something like that. But here's my first design that I did with 3D. This was with Cinema 4D. I think it was 2011 or something like that. And since then, Cinema always was like this scary software where I would have to, learn and just uh, it's like every time I would open software, I would feel like very intimidated. But because I had to do things daily, and I was like, you know what, screw it, I'll just learn the software and I'll just work with it until I get better. And I had to do posters daily, and that's what I did. You can see here some of the works that I've done using 3D and embedding that as a part of the graphic design approach. And my goal with 3D is also always be, how can I use 3D in my Baugasm work as a tool to make graphic design rather than 3D native um, look or like any CGI or anything like that. My goal is like, how can I create flat looking images using 3D? The other thing that I learned while doing this as a project was sometimes if you need to do things daily and experiment and you need new things to come up and keep you excited and keep you motivated to work on it, sometimes you have to get your hands dirty. And yes, probably not this dirty, but meaning why not just start photographing stuff? So for me, it was like getting a lot of acrylic paints and mixing those together, getting it to a point where I can, photograph the images and then embed all these tools that I've been doing all this time, like Photoshop and same time a lot of Cinema 4D, embedding the texture in Cinema, adding it in 3D. And here you can see some of the results of that as a result of doing all of that, like photographing, bringing it to Photoshop, and then to 3D, and come up with some really unique textures that I'm still using to this day. And actually, the textures that you see right now on all the titles here are all done like creating some of the colors in acrylic paint that I have photographed and manipulated the colors to get to this point. And this brings us to the other topic that I learned was like animation is not scary. It might feel like it's scary. Sometimes it's cute, and it's this kind of cute. So I don't know what the feedback from the audience is, and this is super weird for me because like I'm sharing those, and I don't know if the sound played or not. Hopefully, you understand that. I wish I would be there with all of you, but here are some of the stuff that I started animating, and my goal was like, how can I make the posters? They don't need all to be printed. I can basically in a way animate them, and because I'm sharing most of those digitally, so I started animating some of the stuff, and you can see some of more animated posters here, and then I started adding a little bit of a sound. But the other thing that I learned while doing uh, something every day and being creative and trying to come up with cool things all the time is embracing new technologies. It's like new technologies are like tools, are like new things that can provide you with new ways you can express yourself and mix things together in order to come up with unique stuff, especially if you have to do it daily. As you can see here, I've always been very passionate about technology, and this Santa growing up was like I found this footage of me like being very, very kind of fascinated by this thing, and my parents taking a video of it. But embracing the technologies is in 2018, I was approached by Adobe to experiment with a new tool that they were playing around with, and it was basic was like the very start of something AI, artificial intelligence, but it was very basic. And my goal was like, how can I combine all the tools together, like everything that I use in my workflow. So I started like doing acrylic paint, photographing them, and then taking them more into Photoshop, and I start changing a little bit the colors. And then you get to the point that this was like a very basic Photoshop. It was not even Photoshop, it was on a browser that Adobe gave me access to where I can do like style transfer. And I was like, oh, cool, I could get more of that texture of that painting into 3D and then manipulate and put that in many workflows all the time until to get like stuff like that that looks more realistic. And the final result was like creating this. And for me, it was like, oh, AI is cool. AI is like a tool I can use to manipulate images so I can get like other kind of results, which brings us to the other topic where probably many other speakers there are going to talk about or already have talked about, and a lot of people around the world, especially the creative world, are talking about. AI is a tool, or maybe not. I mean, AI is a technology, and it's a tool to facilitate art making. Many jobs and many people in the creative field are intimidated by it, and I'm here to say that for now, I'm using AI as a tool, but I don't know how the future is going to be. And I cannot predict that, but I can predict how I'm going to be using it in my workflow, and that is as a tool. So that's what I've been doing. And here you can see some stuff that I started generating with it and how I can manipulate things. And this was just tests for me to see what animation wise I can do, what illustration I can do. And here you can see some animating and so on. But then I was like, how can I use AI to create images that would be otherwise very difficult for me to embed into my workflow? And how can I use to create that? So I started doing these like very human, organic shapes and fields. So here you can see that I took that as an image and brought it to 3D, and I started extruding it until I get to this point that I can embed 3D elements together with that image. And I got to this result, which for me was super cool because it was like, oh, this is all new. I can play around with it and make cool stuff with it. So here you can see the final result of all of that, and like part of it, it's like all AI done, and then you embed that as a tool into your workflow. And I really enjoy doing that. And here you can see some more of that, and some more here. I don't know if you noticed, but those I don't know if you noticed, but those fans were not working, and I've decided that I will never run a fan digitally or physically again because I have this fan in the studio, and in January I broke my finger, and here is me giving a finger to the fan, which really sucks. Be careful, kids. But here's another animation of doing the engine AI part of it and combining together. The other thing I want to share with you about AI, I think, is this thing which I really stand by. and I'll just read through it. I didn't choose this career path because I thought it was the smartest choice. I chose it because it's what I love. Along the way, I discovered how to turn this into my passion into profit, and I think like a lot of people might relate to that. So I'm not doing this because this is my job or whatever. I do it because I fucking love it. I have the studio here. Everything is facilitating whatever I do. This is what makes me creative, and I love doing this. So there is nothing that will change that. If I don't make a profit anymore of this job, and if AI is threatening that, uh, I don't think it's the case because I always find a way to be creative and I always find a way to make a living out of my work and my art. And that also brings us to the other thing, which is ADHD is my superpower and I fucking hate it. I don't know how many of you are relating to this, but every time I wanted to get my ADHD diagnosed, I would get distracted and probably never do it by a professional. So I did what probably everybody else has done, uh, and that is get it internet diagnosed. Yes, internet diagnosed, and that helps to get your ADHD diagnosed on the internet and not by a professional. So I think I have ADHD. The internet says so, but here's the cool part because in 2022 I wanted to they approached from Off Festival, which is like another design festival, and this was for Off that wanted to create something pretty cool. Like, can you use the titles for? They asked me to create the titles for them, so there were like 22 names to do that. And for some reason, I had a lot of things going on. I had a lot of personal stuff, and I decided that my ADHD came very handy to start working on this project while being on vacation. So you can see that there is a pool. My friends and my partner were all enjoying the day outside while I was doing these things. And the funny thing is that I could have like a deadline, and I had to deliver this in 2 weeks. Uh, and my partner comes into the room and finds me doing something completely different from what I was supposed to. And what's this? Here's the video that I did in 2 weeks for that festival.
რაღაც მუსიკა რო იყოს მაინც. ნოლი ბიტბოქსერი კაც. ვინმე არ არის უფრო კომპეტენტური ამ სფეროში?
So I don't know what the feedback there is from the audience, but like you can just take screenshots probably
Woof
of
woof!
the talk while I'm talking here. That's the only way I can know that you guys are enjoying it. So make sure you can tag me um, through Instagram or Twitter, whatever you use. So I know about it if you take screenshots while I'm giving this talk. But ADHD, we're talking about ADHD, and the cool thing and the superpower about ADHD is that while you are kind of getting distracted and you have so many cool things to do, it comes per handy to do stuff because like here you can see the other work that I do with my uh, you know do with my partner, and here are the things that we do on the side while I have to do a poster every day, and so on and so on. So like the cool thing is that you get distracted, but you always get distracted to do cool stuff like this. And the other thing is that internet friends are cooler. That's what I learned. And here you can see I'm the only child and always been, uh, always kind of bored and always wanted to play with my like always played by myself. It's like I would argue with my mom or like I would fight with them. But you can see you can see the same thing here. I'm still in the studio and I'm still jumping around and playing around. But the cool thing is that while being alone and being one person to do all the creative stuff that I do, you know, sometimes you can do anything, but not everything. And that was me always wanted to have a typeface and I always wanted to create like a cool font. And that's when we sort of collaborated with Pangram and then we did Il Machina as a typeface. And how we can make something like all of our designer friends and graphic designers excited about a new typeface coming up. So we decided to make an animation about it, and it's this one. But as unfortunately I'm not there, if I would be there physically and I couldn't make it, I would have probably said hola to all of you, and I would have given you some keyrings like those ones. But you know, I think sometimes when you come to these festivals, I'm not there, but like you should do this with all the other creatives and other speakers that are there. Just go and say hi, because like the coolest part is while being on design festivals, and I've been doing this quite a lot. We all shy. I am shy, and you can see here me being on first TV station as a kid, and I'm like super, super shy. So just go say hi to all the people that you want to meet and enjoy the time while you are there. The other thing that I learned during all of this is that 99% of my work is shit. And unfortunately, some of us might feel like that, and I feel like that. And sometimes when I see my work, I feel like this. But out of 977 posters that I've done, probably 77 of those would be the ones that I like. And the cool thing that I learned while doing this as a project is that consistency is a key to improvement. It will help you improve and learn new programs and new softwares, but it will not get you your work perfect. Honestly, I don't know what the formula is to get perfect, and that's something that we always evolving. And there is a thing like I always believe that having one style is like wearing the same clothes for the rest of your life. And actually, do you want to have that? Because like, look at me over here. wearing all these skateboarder, looking cool, teenager, maybe pre-teenage time. Imagine if I would be wearing that now, I would actually look like this guy. Um, but here you can see some of the work that I started and experimented with on early stage of doing Baugasm project, and then you can see the evolution of it as I go and as I move forward with my skills, changing different styles and trying different things, but always having like sort of an identity and something interesting in there. The other thing that I learned, and this is the one that hurts the most, and it's very, very interesting, is because you know, don't design for the algorithm. And the thing is, we all sharing our work on social media, and we all sort of, this is our, this is our, this is our passion and making art and creative. And then social media is the place where we share that. Sometimes it feels like social media is dictating the way we are designing and the way how we're making our art. And sometimes it feels like this, like next one, where they tell you what to do and didn't ask you if you wanted. And this is me being baptized. But I'm happy it doesn't look like this. That's my favorite part at the end. But then, you know, you get messages like this on social media, which you just want to be creative and you want to create stuff, and then you get like different feedback. Uh, we are not used as creatives to get feedback by thousands and thousands of people. And how does that impact you? So, like, I got this message a couple of weeks ago from a person saying, you start trends, now you follow them. I mean, I'm going to answer today probably this message. Wrong slide, I think. Uh, I think I'm not aiming to create trends or follow any. My goal is to produce work that, looking back from 10 years in the future, I would still love and still be very proud of the skills and the things that I experimented with, and something that I am really passionate about. And there is nothing wrong on following trends, because we all being influenced by what we see around. And then I think there is no formula of creating a new trend, but personally, I feel like, you follow trends and then you change them by making them yours. That's the perfect way I would sum up of coming up with your own piece and your own art. But it happens that the other thing that I learned while going through all of these career paths is that creative burnout is a real thing. And what I mean by that is you start thinking, is everything is right? And here is like a video that illustrates what I've been going through my career, and like moments where I have, uh, sort of a burnout, and you start asking questions like, am I even original or just echoing trends, or this algorithm controls the visibility of not my talent. I'm running out of ideas. Everything feels stale. AI could replace my job. What's the value then? And then, if I don't post regularly, will I be forgotten? Why bother? It feels like I'll never be good enough. And all of these thoughts, you go, probably a lot of people relate to these, and a lot of people think that, you know, we struggle through our creative path. And social media, I think, comparing ourselves to other creatives and not being good enough on one thing, and then having ADHD and being very distracted from many other things that we want to do. We might have a deadline and then we end up doing weird things that look like balls or things like that. And all of these gives us a lot of anxiety and a lot of pressure. And then you start, asking yourself, it feels like I'll never be good enough, or is this the right thing that I'm doing? But this kind of depicts how it feels. But I think you'll just be fine. We're all fine in the end. So, and that brings us to the other thing. Setbacks are setups for comebacks. So the cool thing is 2019, middle age hit early for me, and I got this card, which I wanted to fix and create kind of a manipulated and like, make the car from scratch, paint it, and so on. So I could do like a lot of photos and things like that. But then COVID came and I didn't finish the car properly. And I was like, shit, I want to do like a lot of cool stuff with the car. I wanted to take photos and videos with my partner. And then I was like, you know what? Actually, I can just create a car in 3D and start making those things that I actually wanted to photograph and video shoot with my partner uh, and together as cinematographers and photographers. And that's what I started doing. And this is where the 3D came handy that I learned while doing the Baugasen project, because I started getting to this point. I started getting this sort of images and putting the car in the air and kind of being annoyed that never finished. Then having having like the car animated a little bit and having this sort of a uh, uh, videos. And then I was like, I can do more cool stuff. I put like a deer or reindeer, and I saw this image of like them painting it in Finland so they can see it and don't cars don't crash by. And I created that image, and the cool thing that went viral for some reason, and like a lot of news media reached out and was like, we need to fact check. Yes, Finland painted reindeer with reflective paint to prevent car crashes, but viral photo, it's not real. They needed to make sure it's pretty obvious that it's 3D. But my goal was, how can I create photography with 3D images that I always wanted to shoot, but I'll never be able physically to be in the right moment to photograph those. So I started making more stuff. And then for some reason, I was still very passionate about making cars. And then more cars in the air, and then more cars and animated. Uh, and then more cars, and then putting a car on fire. And a car, a motorcycle, and doing this for on the lab for one of my favorite bands, Wavo, which was really happy to do that. And then I started getting approached by brands to do stuff for them. So this was for Specialized, and this other one. But last year, I also spent a lot of time in Berlin where I was passing always by the street, and I thought, like, how cool would it be to scan it with my phone and get that thing into 3D, and then kind of use it as a thing and add a car in there. So that's what I did. But then, creating more cars and more cars and more cars, and then getting approached by BMW to do these projects. But out of all of these, the main thing that I learned is that personal projects are more important than client work. And I feel like personal projects is what you want to do and what you want to create, and the most important thing to you. I've been doing a lot of projects from all these sort of brands, but for me, always the personal one are the ones that are personal to me. And out of all of those that I've done, the one that standed out most that I've done for client work is the Adobe Illustrator 2018 splash screen that I'm really passionate about, because every artist, every creator use it. And if there is one thing that I have to say is create more of what you want to see. And that's one of the things that I learned. I want to make shit that I'm happy about, and I want to make things that I want to see that don't exist. And that's for me what this next image is. Unfortunately, many of you maybe have not been to Albania, but I'll just take you for a quick trip to Tirana. But it's you might only be wondering where Bauhausm comes from, right? So I think it's pretty obvious. It comes from Bauhaus, and of course, but for me, doing this is like I want to be creative. It's someone who is very. Uh, I'm a person who really love what I do. Always wanted to do this. I always was passionate about my work, and I'm always excited about new things. And I love being and giving talks. Unfortunately, I could not make it to be there for some personal reasons. And even if I would be there and being here digitally, I would always feel shy, like feeling here as a kid. But um, thank you so much for being there, and I will leave you here with some of my other work until this video can play out. But thank you so much. Make sure to tag me on the internet, and I'll make sure to see your feedback. Bye.